I call to order the regular meeting of the City of Aransas Pass City Council, October 4th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Let's all rise for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance.
Dear Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the blessings that you bestowed upon us. My Father, I pray your guidance upon us, the City Council, that we make the right decisions for the City of Aransas Pass. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to go to presentations and proclamations, and tonight we're going to present a proclamation designating October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness and Prevention Month, and it'll be presented to Kayla Perez. And the proclamation reads, whereas domestic violence is about power and control in the United States. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. COVID-19 has compelled some survivors to stay in their homes. Abusers often use isolation and fear as a tool to exert control over their victims. Whereas survivors of domestic violence often feel isolated and alone, those who experience domestic violence may be left with lingering effects, including mental health disorders such as anxiety, depression, or PTSD. An abusive partner will often begin by using emotional and physical, psychological abuse such as name-calling or putting the victim down, and then escalates to physical violence. Abusers must be held accountable for their behavior. We all have a responsibility to start the conversation and learn more about the signs of abuse for our families, friends, and community members who may be experiencing domestic violence and isolation. Therefore, the Porpador encourages the Coastal Bend to lose the ribbon this October for Prevention is Action. We encourage everyone to reach out to the Purple Door or visit the National Domestic Violence Hotline and the National Network to End Domestic Violence websites for resources on digital advocacy. Follow the Purple Door on Facebook and Instagram at Purple Door TX. For more ways to get involved, it is the mission of the Purple Door to empower the community and those affected by domestic violence and sexual assault to transition to a safe and healthy environment. It is the vision of the Purple Door in domestic violence and sexual assault in the Coastal Bend region. So now, therefore, pursuant to the power vested in the mayor, I do hereby proclaim October as Domestic Violence Awareness and Prevention Month.
Back it up.
Take a
I want a picture.
Thank you.
You don't want a picture together?
Oh, I mean, if you want.
Sure.
I'm like little camera shy.
Yeah.
That would be
Stephanie?
nice to have it together.
Stephanie?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Could y'all meet it as well? We get some right
Well,
here?
just come on
Sir?
right up here.
Yeah, do it right up here.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
No, you want to.
We can go down there. Wanna go down there?
We can just stand right
If I
here.
kind of struggle, you guys.
Yeah, just wanna
you can stand here.
Why don't we just stand right here? I guess not. I guess we're going down.
Everybody come on down.
Here,
I can stand it.
Come on.
No, we'll come.
come on.
I don't really want to
Hey,
go
just say
down.
you guys are short, so you gotta go on the front.
That's right.
I'm only 11.
1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you all so
Thank
much
you,
again.
thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go to The update on Com Brown Harbor, bulkhead with Javier Solis from JM Davidson.
Good evening, how's everybody doing?
Good.
So last time we were here, we were about to finish Redfish Willie's, that is complete. I'm waiting on grass. Probably at the end of this week or early next week, we're gonna be throwing the grass because I know you guys had a tournament over there and Mr. Mike Moore told me to hold up on it, so we'll be getting it this week. Other than that, progress is progress. We've been working, we've been rained out, we've been lightning out. The weather hasn't been helping us, but we're still on track and we're still doing good. Other than that, that's all I got. Everybody good?
We're good.
Thank you.
guys
You have a
have
good
done
evening.
Good job. Thank you.
Now we're going to go to an update on the SCADA system with Eric Villarreal, Ardua Group, and Charles Alford, Dedicated Controls.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Eric Villarreal with LNV, now Ardura. I don't see anybody from either the Dedicated Controls or Inyati. All that to say is that both projects are wrapping up. This one's the SCADA. They still have about a week, maybe 2 weeks worth of work to do. They've got several lift stations already hooked up. The cities and the staff has been able to monitor the new system. It's not complete yet. They still need to do some official training, in-house training, put together, I think, a few more lift stations, put those online. And then we'll do our walkthrough, our punch list. We'll make sure that everything is done according to plans and specifications. We'll start with that, with the closeout documents, and won't turn it over to the city until the certificate of construction completion is done, signed, and everybody's in agreement. So we still have about 2 weeks worth of work. So hopefully by the next council meeting, there won't really be an update other than they're done.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
And then if you want to move on to the wastewater treatment plant one.
Sure.
That one, I know today and tomorrow they're doing final cleanup. And that one, they will be done this week. So we'll, again, start putting together the closeout documents, the punch list, any items the city wants to, get fixed or taken care of, addressed before the final construction completion. That'll be done this week, so they'll be done. And then we'll take care of all the final paperwork, close out, pay final payment, and all that good stuff.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay, now we have an update on the Euclid pump station.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. John's not here tonight, but I'll give you a quick update. The pumps were already all installed. They're all in there. The roof has been put back in. The only one that's not operational right now is the diesel, because we're waiting on the anti-reverse plate. It was mailed out already or shipped. We should be getting it this week. We did run the big electric this past week. It was a good chance to test it out. There were some hiccups at the beginning because a staff member who was running the night shift didn't know how to turn it on, but we got it going, and once we get that diesel on, we're going to do a training for all staff. We're actually going to record it and have it saved on the computer, so if new staff does come in, that's going to be part of the onboarding, that they go through that training, and it's recorded so that it's documented there, and it's the same for everybody. The building needs some work since the roof was just put back last week. We still got to go back and do some electrical work to put lights back on, but the pumps are in, the electric works, the T6 works. We tested them this past weekend and they worked, so hopefully we get that plate in, the diesel's up and running as well. I know Lynn had asked about the float system. They do run a float system. They hadn't been properly installed yet because we had just put the pumps in, but once everything's said and done, they'll be on floats and they'll kick on automatically on their own. So.
Good.
And the trash rack is complete too, that we're putting up in front of with this rain event, it delayed. It was supposed to be put in last week. So hopefully this week, now that it's drying up, we'll start installing it. And that should capture all the big debris before it gets to the wet well.
How often are those going to be cleaned out?
Hopefully we'll do it after every event because every time it rains, stuff washes in there, and
How about before every event, so that we make sure that the
well,
water is
yes.
running?
Yeah, and they're gonna have to be monitoring them too as
Okay.
the water's coming in, because there's a lot of flow coming in through that ditch. Even after it stops raining, there's still the rest of the town drains into it, and it takes a while to get all the water in there. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it. But at least it'll help our pumps from getting stuff jammed up into the impeller. So
Yeah, because I heard there was 2x4s and all kinds of debris
Yeah.
inside the
Oh,
pump.
they pulled a lot of stuff, and that's what we had a grate at the wet well, but they still managed to get in there. So.
I wonder about something like putting some kind of decal inside the building for like a pre-startup checklist for those pumps.
Yeah, we can get on our plotter, plot it out,
Yeah.
poster size, laminate it, and have it stuck up on the wall.
That'd be a good idea.
Great idea.
Yeah, we'll do all that training, and I've already told Lynn too that we'll let him know when it is so that he can be there, and if any of y'all want to be present, we can get y'all included on that training.
Okay.
Right?
Boy, I can be
Thank
out
you.
there starting it up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, now we're
Lordy.
gonna have an update on American Rescue Plan. Gary Edwards.
Mayor and council, this is the plan to install and build infrastructure, water and sewer for parts of town that currently do not have those infrastructure items, being paid for with the American Rescue Plan through the federal government, through the state government. It's moving along pretty well, actually. We have, we're starting, and it's underway, the design work for all of that work, working with the engineer on some related paperwork that's still underway, but the design is moving forward. Dee Ari Mendez with GrantWorks has been named the project manager for this $2 million project. We have just a little over $2 million from the American Rescue Plan. Bottom line, it's moving forward and looking forward to the design being completed and starting construction on water and sewer infrastructure to parts of town currently without those services. Any questions?
That's great news.
That's great
Yeah.
news.
That's
Yes, it
great
is.
news.
It is. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Will you have overlay or something of a map showing all the roads and
Once the design is
areas?
completed, yes, we will.
Okay.
So that's part of the design work.
Okay.
Okay, now we're going to go to the consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the
Are
city
you
council.
skipping planning and zoning?
Oh.
Planning and zoning.
Yeah.
Oops.
We're going to go to the board and commission appointments, and it's for the Planning and Zoning Commission. And we
Do you-
have 5 names, so we need 4 spots.
There are mayor and council, and Mary, the city secretary, will probably be jumping in on this to assist with this. But there are 4 positions that are expiring: Randall Freeze, Carol Salinas, Rebecca Sparks, and Lisa Barker. Of those 4, neither Rebecca nor Lisa wish to be reappointed. That leaves Randall, that leaves Carol. And there are 5 individual citizens who are interested in being appointed: Green Hill, Richard Peters, Labredo Ramos, Joe Dominguez, and Michael Moore. Those are the 5 who are interested in reappointment. So bottom line, you have 4 positions that are expiring. 2 of those do not want to be reappointed. And then you have 5 positions of our citizens who wish to join planning and zoning. And so it's up to you and what you would like to do on this. Or any questions? And Mary, anything to add to that?
No, so you've covered it.
Okay.
Are we allowed to discuss this?
Uh,
Okay.
Yeah.
I personally would not want to reappoint Randall Freeze over some items that he's posted on Facebook regarding the hospital. He doesn't feel it's necessary here in Aransas Pass, and I believe that's a very negative for a citizen who lives here. And if you're not trying to promote your own community, I don't think that you should be part of planning and zoning. My opinion and my opinion only.
Would you like, oh, yes, ma'am?
My name is Carol Salinas. I am a member of the P&Z, and I hope you do reappoint me. But I have not seen those Facebook posts by Randall Fries, but I would just like to make a comment that he's very knowledgeable in procedure and what goes on, happening in the neighboring areas. And there's been a lot of times that I think has guided us. I never felt like being led in the wrong direction, that he gave us helpful information to use to make our decisions. And I'm very disappointed if he actually is making those comments.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to reappoint Carol Salinas and appoint Green Hill, Joe Dominguez, and Richard Peters to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Do you have another choice?
Everybody okay?
Yeah, I mean, we can flip coins, we can
No, I'm okay with
throw
that.
sticks,
I'm
or.
okay with those.
There's a motion on the
Yeah.
floor. Is there a second?
I think Vicki has some,
I was considering as far as, well, we have to vote on this particular motion, right? We have to vote, get a second on this one, or something like that?
Yeah.
I was wondering about Michael Moore.
well, he's on ZBA, so let somebody else into the P&Z.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's, I didn't know that Mr. Moore was already on another of the
Yeah,
boards.
he's on
Okay.
ZBA.
I guess we need maybe get a list of who's on the board whenever we're appointed to kind of have a.
Okay. Okay, so it's.
Citizens.
Okay.
Okay, now we'll go to the consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of this item unless a council member so requests. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the September 2nd, 2021 special meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now I'm gonna open the public hearing for case number,
Mayor, that applicant has withdrawn his application.
oh, okay.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
I believe it's gonna come back at a later time.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, now we'll go to the city manager, which is consider an act on approval of an ordinance by the city council of the city of Aransas Pass, Texas, authorizing the issuance of the city of Aransas Pass, Texas general obligation refunding bonds, series 2021, levying an annual ad valorem tax within the limitations prescribed by law for the payment of the bonds, authorizing the execution of any necessary engagement agreement with the city financial advisor, and provided an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor and Council, Mr. Andrew Friedman is here to explain in more detail, but essentially this is an opportunity to get a better price, so to speak, or pay less on interest. That's the whole purpose in this refunding. And Andrew, you have, I'm sure, a much more comprehensive explanation of what the council is being asked to vote on.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Gary did a very good job. There's not much left to add. He handed out just a brief presentation, and this is going to cover the next two items as well, but we'll start with this refunding. As we visited about August 16th, when I was last here about this bond refunding opportunity, this is an opportunity to refund existing debt that we have without extending the amortization of that debt and simply lower our annual payments. And so that's shown here behind that first, or on that second page of the presentation. You can see that we've got 2005 and 2012 series of certificates of obligation in an amount of $2,690,000, which can be refunded for savings. The annual savings was shown in the left-hand column. The prior debt service is the debt service of those maturities outstanding. To the right of that is the final refunding debt service based upon the pricing that we had today with FHN Financial Capital Markets, which generates roughly $10,000 a year from now until 2033. So we're locking in a lower fixed interest rate and not extending the term of this loan. So the original bonds would mature by 2033. So will these. This refunding is for the benefit of the utility system. The debt that we're refunding is currently paid by the utility system, so the savings that we're realizing will be for the benefit of the utility system. The box to the lower right, the summary of refunding results, you'll notice that the refunding got a little bit smaller from what we talked about last time. Before we were talking about refunding $2,950,000 in bonds. What we're looking at for approval this evening is for $2,690,000 in bonds. The reason for that is because over the last 2 weeks, interest rates have begun creeping higher. And so we examine refundings not just in aggregate for the whole series of bonds, but to make sure that each maturity that we're refunding saves money on its own. And what we determined was that the 2022 maturities of each of the 2005 and 2012 bonds were actually losing money to refund them. So we struck them from the transaction, and we're able to lock in the same percentage savings at 4.57%, even though you'll notice the gross savings that we were considering August 16th was $146,000 and change. We're looking at saving $131,000, and that's because we're not refunding those 22 maturities and as a result of the interest rates going up. So still a great refunding. Timing is everything, of course. The Federal Reserve came out 2 weeks ago and said that they were going to expect to end their tapering program and that they were intending to raise interest rates sometime beginning in 2023. That sent the markets creeping higher, and now we've got issues in Congress with passing the debt limit, and that's sent some jitters into the market as well. So again, we're still at historical lows, getting great interest rate here and saving money. So there's really no reason not to proceed. These bonds are either callable right now, as is the case with the 2005 bonds, or will be callable February 1st, 2022 without any penalty. And so this is our first opportunity to be able to refund those. And so our advice is to proceed with this refunding with the bids received today from FHN Capital Markets. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have, but that's the extent. I will say that through the course of these 3 transactions, the 2 we'll discuss next, went through the rating process with Standard & Poor's. They affirmed our AA- credit rating. You've got a strong financial position in spite of COVID, in spite of other things going on. So just urge you all to continue to be mindful of your finances. Spending down reserves is certainly not a long-term plan that you all can continue to do, but you've got such great fund balance through y'all's proactiveness in building those reserves to be able to withstand natural weather events and different things. So kudos to you all. Standard & Poor's does recognize that. Mr. Edwards and Ms. Garcia did a great job, as usual, going through that rating process and really putting the city's best foot forward, so to speak. So with that, turn it over to you all for any questions that you have.
We are very fortunate for such a small town to have Sandra Garcia and Gary Edwards protecting all of this for us and knowing when to make the right calls for us. I don't believe, Sandra, was Aransas Pass even recognized by Standards & Poor's before Gary got here? We've always been rated, but it's always been a bad.
But we've maintained a AA- for a long time.
Okay.
No, y'all have.
Well, that's good.
We have our turbulence here, but the ship has been steady from a management perspective,
Okay,
and certainly
good.
bolstered by Gary and by Sandra over the last several years.
Good.
Yep. So you'll lock this in tomorrow if we approve it tonight?
We will lock it in tonight if you approve it tonight.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we authorize the issuance of the City of Aransas Pass Texas General Obligation Refunding Bonds, Series 2021, levying an amount ad valorem tax within the limitations prescribed by law for the payment of the bonds, authorizing the execution of any necessary engagement agreement with the city's financial advisors and providing an effective date.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to consider an act and approval of an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Aransas, Pass, Texas, authorizing the issuance of the City of Aransas, Pass, Texas general obligation refunding bonds, taxable series 2021, levying an annual ad valorem tax within the limitations prescribed by law for the payment of the bonds, authorizing the execution of any necessary engagement agreement with the city's financial advisor, and providing an effective date.
Mayor and council, this is an issue with which you are very familiar. This is the settlement issue, and it allows us to not have to have one lump sum out of our finances. And it's the $815,000 about which we talked during the settlement discussion. So, Andrew.
Thank you very much. This is out of order in my presentation because I did not look at the agenda closely enough. If you'll flip to the page referring to the general obligation refunding bonds taxable series 2021,
Okay.
did a quick summary of the financing for you all. Chapter 1207 of the Texas Local Government Code allows the city to finance a legal settlement, a court-approved settlement through a general obligation refunding bond. So we just sold refunding bonds 1 minute ago. So this is a new financing, but under Chapter 1207 of the Local Government Code, it's classified as a general obligation refunding bond. It is taxable in nature because the IRS dictates that, and so the interest rate that accompanies this is higher than we would have otherwise seen, but it's the way to really keep the city in good standing with the federal government from that perspective. And so we are financing this over a period of 7 years at a fixed interest rate. That interest rate is blended together 1.72%. So again, a very good interest rate historically speaking. This will at closing put $815,000 into to fund the settlement. We're still working with the bond attorneys to determine if this money will get wired straight through the court in order to satisfy that, or if it'll come to the city first. But those proceeds will be exclusively spent towards that court settlement, $815,000, closing on November 4th, and meeting the various deadlines that we have as part of that court-approved settlement. And with that, I do want to point out that as it pertains to this, that'll be paid for from the city's general fund side, not your utility side, not another enterprise of the city, and the tax notes to be considered in the next item does not require an INS rate increase to take this on. And in fact, the city will have, for beginning next year and in subsequent years, capacity of at least $10 million to fund new projects without increasing your INS tax rate. So you will preserve the ability to finance capital projects without having to go up in your tax rate to do so. So just want you all to be aware of that. I'm not aware of any project specifically, but just leave that for you as you go into this budget and start making your plans into the coming year to have that in your back pocket. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have, or Gary or Sandra, if I've neglected to mention anything, I'm happy to retrace that ground.
Well, I'll make a motion that we authorize the issuance of the City of Aransas, Pass, Texas general obligation refunding bonds, taxable series 2021, levying an annual ad valorem tax within the limitations prescribed by law for the payment of bonds, authorizing the execution of any necessary engagement agreement with the city's financial advisors, and providing an effective date.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the sales tax, property sales.
No,
No,
there's one more.
7.3, consider an
7.3.
act on approval.
Oh, otra vez. Consider an act on approval of an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Aransas, Pass, Texas, authorizing the issuance of the City of Aransas, Pass, Texas tax notes, Series 2021A, levying an annual ad valorem tax within the limitations prescribed by law, with the payments of the bonds, authorizing the execution of any necessary engagement agreement with the city financial advisor, and provided an effective date.
Mayor and council, this was discussed extensively during the budgetary process, and it was agreed to go in this particular direction. And these specific items are mentioned in the PowerPoint presentation, but going into a little more detail with that as a reminder to the mayor and council. Police department, $100,000 for 2 vehicles, you will recall. Street and drainage, $95,000. That's for the reclamite on 11 roads and streets. If necessary, we can list those for you. Street and drainage, $200,000. Pump station, number 2, ditch expansion. That's to kind of continuing with the flooding issue and stormwater issue. Also at the fire department, garage bay door replacement, $30,000. And Public Works vehicle for 5 vehicles for $157,000. And then, personally, a big one that we're very glad to see, and that's the water sewer, the force main and water line crossing canal. That's that exposed line that people walk on and have parties on and do everything. That's very dangerous. And causes huge problems if that were to break. So those are in a nutshell, those are the projects we're talking about. Andrew, anything to add to that?
I do not, other than to say that 2 sources of repayment here. We've got projects that are for business aspects supported by the general fund, and so this tax note, while it's a single tax note being sold to the market, we have internally split out the debt service between the general fund and the water and sewer funds, so that each fund is paying for its portion of the debt for which it's receiving a benefit. And so, again, amortized over 7 years. That second page of my presentation here, you'll notice this is just like the taxable refunding bonds for the settlement, amortized over 7 years at 1.72%. We're amortizing this over 7 years at 1.095%. So very attractive interest rate. Happy to answer any questions that you have pertaining to this item as well.
What's the total amount of the tax note?
The tax note is $882,000 is what's going to be deposited into the 2 projects funds. $503,500 for the general fund, $378,500 for the utility system, or the water sewer fund.
And I guess to save money, Eric, on the police vehicles, it's just a question. There wouldn't be no way that money could come out of from crime control or forfeiture money, could it?
So that's a great question, and yes, historically we've always spent out of either the federal asset forfeiture program or out of crime control for vehicles. Crime control has taken on a greater burden elsewhere that has necessitated finding a way to transfer that to the city. So from working with Sandra and stuff like that over the last couple of budget cycles, Sandra has been working with us trying to get it to where the city can regularly take on that in the event we were to lose federal asset forfeiture, which is vulnerable, or potentially not have the fundage that is provided by the Crime Control and Prevention District. Great questions, and it is something that we have been looking at and trying to get the city to adopt or accept. That we have to get the city into that routine of funding about 3 to 4.5 vehicles per fiscal year. So that shortage right now will be coming out of one of those funds. In fact, I think the crime board is funding 1 vehicle this year still.
Okay. Yeah, it'd definitely be good to look at. That way we can save some money come out of the budget. Okay, thanks for answering that.
Yes, sir.
In the past, how many vehicles have they bought, the crime board?
Historically, the crime board is trying to do 1 to 2 vehicles per fiscal year for us. However, they also are a heavy hitter. For example, this year, the greatest upgrade that we necessitated was through Axon, taser cam, body cams. Our contract was up for renewal, and that comes at the expense of $365,000 for the next 5 years. So that
They
big
took on
chunk
that.
comes from them.
Yep.
The other thing you got to understand too is they're dipping into their savings
Mhm.
that they've been putting away to do a lot of facility improvements
yes.
and upgrades. And I like to put it into the context or terms of, if we were to lose the crime board, the greatest way I would make up for that shortfall would have to be manpower, which is the most expensive, and that's about 12 employees or 12 police officers that we would lose.
Oh, wow.
And that would be a huge impact. So the crime board does take on a big load there, but we're also trying to find a way to where some of the bare essentials like fleet management and just the costs of having a police force can be taken on by the city, so that we're not so dependent on the luxury that we have here as having a crime board and a very healthy, equitable forfeiture program. Which I will tell you, that forfeiture program, we have a meeting with one of our congressmen coming up later this month, because a lot of agencies are not getting the flow of assets that they're used to getting. I have some assets that have been outstanding for over 5 or 6 years. And there's no excuse for that, according to some of our congressmen, and they want to have a meeting about it. So those two funding sources are vulnerable, and I would hate for us to lose them and not be able to sustain that impact to the city later
Correct.
on.
Sure, I understand.
Any other questions?
Well, I'll make a motion that we authorize the issuance of the City of Aransas Pass Texas Tax Notes, Series 2021A, levying an annual ad valorem tax within the limitations prescribed by law for the payment of bonds, authorizing the execution of any necessary engagement agreement with the city's financial advisors, and providing an effective date.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the property sale.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just interrupt you for 2 seconds so we can get FHN on this up. Just gonna get the minimal number of signatures from you. Send this to them by email right now for each of the 3 transactions. That's what I write down here. Yes, sir. Pretty simple. Mary has the rest of the legal documents for you to sign after the meeting. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the, property resale tax, or resale properties.
Yes, sir. Good evening. My name is Robert Cuevas. I'm the office manager for Linebarger, Goggin, and Sampson out of Corpus Christi. What I have with me tonight is Glenda Guerra. She's the legal assistant / area manager that does all the grunt work for us. She puts the packets together. She files the lawsuits along with Steve Salcedo, who couldn't make it tonight. Does all the property inspections, takes the pictures. She does all the hard work. So I wanted y'all to meet her. So
Thank
if there's
you.
anything that y'all need, you can always contact her.
And what is her name again?
Glenda Guerra. Glenda Guerra. So she drives around Aransas Pass and getting to know Aransas Pass and Ingleside, and so at any point you can always call her for questions if you have a file or anybody specifically is asking on a piece of property that's delinquent. Before I get started tonight on the different properties, I want to bring to your attention that the values listed on the bid analysis are the 2020 values, not the 2021 values that were loaded by the appraisal district to their website. So I can go through each property individually. There's been some changes on the value, and I'd like to read those off to you if possible. On number 4, that value has increased from $3,788 to a little over $12,000.
Wow.
Okay? Yes, that's a big increase. Number 5, the value is, we have listed as $2,940. The value now is $3,500. So that's a slight increase. Number 6, the current value we have listed is $1,470. The 21 value is $1,750. Number 7, the value is we have listed as $19,575, and the value went down a little bit, 19,350 on that one. And the last one, number 8, number 8, we have a current value of 12,825, and there's no change according to the appraisal district. So I wanted the council to know that there's been some changes on the value for 21 going forward when you consider these offers. Would you like me to go through them individually?
Sure.
The S03-1279TX, Aransas Pass ISD versus William Castleberry. The amount of the bid is $3,790, and the costs are $820, and listed below is what you will receive, $806.04. And I believe we have Miss Patricia Ruiz here. She's here in the audience with you. I just wanted to introduce her. I don't know if she wants to say anything to the council. She doesn't speak English. She only speaks Spanish. She has an interpreter.
Well, I speak Spanish, so you can talk to me.
Sí, pues nomás, pues no sé qué me están diciendo. Nomás él lo está introduciendo aquí porque quiero comprar el terreno para hacer una casa.
She said that she wants to buy the property to build a house. Okay.
I have a question on this particular property. I don't know if for, maybe Fernando. I know there was an issue with a property owner that had a mobile home there, and we're trying to move it out because there's no service, it's too low for water and sewer. Is this in that same category? Because that's Railroad Street, that's in that same area. Because I wouldn't, depending on where it's located, if we're gonna have the same issue, I don't think we should sell that property if we're gonna have that same issue with the water and sewer as we have that gentleman, the sewer system, because it doesn't allow us to have a septic tank, correct? And I just want to make sure that this is not in that same.
Yeah, I agree with Vicky, and also to see if it's around all the property that the city bought about, around 15 years ago. We spent a lot of money buying up property down there. I was curious on what side of Railroad Street it's on.
That's just my concern on this one.
If you'd like, we could table it for the next time.
I would like to,
Yes.
I would like to table it just to make sure.
She says that there's some houses right across the street from it, and in front.
It's on the seawall side.
No hay nada. No hay nada. Okay. Dicen que a lo mejor no van a votar en este lado, ¿no? Para poder investigar si se va a poder conectar al drenaje y al lado.
Okay.
Porque si no, no va a poder construir nada en esa propiedad.
Okay.
Okay.
Está bien.
Okay. Vamos a ver si qué es lo que van a hacer. So we're tabling it?
We're going to table it, yes, Council, for next time, and we can notify her.
Can I make a motion that we just table this? I make a motion. Can I do that? Are we opened or not, or closed? I'll make a motion that we table this particular item. Is it 7.4?
7.4.
Suite number, what is it? Suite number S03-1279TX for further research, just to make sure.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 7.5, suit number S11-1100TX, Aransas Pass ISD versus Stan E. Russell, lots 14 and 15, block 245, City of Aransas Pass. The bid is $1,050, and based on the cost of the sale, which $1,247, all that money will go to cost. I mean, the tax code specifically states that we have to pay the cost first. So in this particular property, you will not receive anything. We're paying the cost and then trying to get it back on the tax roll. I'm not sure if Billy Pauley is in the audience. There she is. Okay, I thought she, okay, so she's here. And do you want to say anything to the council before they consider it?
I need to make the difference. I can make the difference to 1247.
Well, that's going to come out of your bid. So I don't know if you want to increase your bid to pay that off.
Cover the cost. I mean, I can do that.
So you'll get, I can't tell you specifically how much you'll receive, but you'll get some now that she's willing to pay the cost, in addition, adding that to her bid. So,
So which is this one that, as far as what the value is now, is that the second one?
right, it went up to 3,500 from 2,490. I mean, 2,940, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Up to 3,500.
3,500, yes, ma'am. It went up about $600 more or less in value.
Ms. Polly, what do you plan to do with this property?
We're making improvements.
What does that mean?
Byway over here. Move over here.
Do you plan on building a house?
Building a house or.
Can you come up to the podium,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah.
Nice.
Look into some of the other structures that maybe can be possibly built, tiny homes, et cetera, whatever the business development I'm in accordance with.
And what do you feel your time frame would be to have a home on that property?
Weather permitting, still have to go through a few more processes. So depending on how quick that goes, I don't know, never done this before, so maybe a year, maybe less. Improvements will be done before then.
So is there a structure there, or is it just the vacant lot?
Just vacant.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
May I
Get to
ask,
start.
Glenda, you've taken pictures of this property. Does it need to be cleaned up first, or what kind of condition is this property in? Okay.
We always bring files. I always, like to look at the files, because you never know, you might find something in there that
Yeah.
maybe we had done a year ago, or, so I always ask that we bring the files, so. For this specific reason, right here.
Where do you live now, Miss Polly?
In Woodsboro?
I'm in Victoria and in Woodsboro, trying to get this place. I've gone from Inez to Victoria to Woodsboro, now I'm already here. I love Aransas Pass. We've been over here for a few years now, so.
You know, Mayor.
It's just brush and vacant land.
Vacant land.
There's no improvements, according to what we.
Mayor, I will say that I'm looking online at the actual lot location, and there's so many small lots in the city of Aransas Pass. This one is not a small lot. It is one of the larger lots that we normally have in the city, or a bigger home.
Because these are two lots.
She has two lots that
Two
she's
lots.
bidding on.
So I'm
for
talking
the-
about 7.5. I haven't looked up 7.6 for you.
Oh, well, yeah.
There's gonna be a total of 4. One will be for me, and then I have 3 children.
So you're looking on this property, the lots 14 and 15, to build 4 houses?
No, ma'am. There's
Okay.
gonna be 4 lots total. I'm so sorry. There'll
She
be
has the
another-
next, the bid,
The
next
next
bid.
Oh, and the
is
next
also-
bid.
yes.
Okay, I see.
She has the next bid on the agenda also, so she's up for consideration on that one too.
We all like our stories. Love them, but,
Can I point out something real quick? On both of these, we've had, on the first one, where she's increased the bid to cover the cost. This originally was sold or offered on October 1st of 2013. The second one was originally offered on December 2nd, 2014. So we're talking 8 and 7 years ago that these were offered, and they're sitting there. So we can't make a recommendation, but just keep that in mind, that you have someone
Right.
who's
Yeah.
trying to make her way this way,
Right.
like she says.
It's actually 2 lots.
Right.
2 lots right next to each other for 7.5.
Correct.
And it would be one of the largest lots in the city.
Right, right. So they've been sitting there for 7 years, no taxes being paid.
What's
And you
the
have
actual
someone who's-
size of the lots?
I'll look up some. Do you know? I can tell visually.
Yeah, but that doesn't hardly comply. No.
100 by 140?
Each lot is 100 by 140?
Well, I think they've counted them both together.
Okay, so.
50 by
So it would
140.
be 50 by 140.
That's traditional.
We
Okay,
have
so.
hundreds of 25 foot by 140, I think. This
Yeah.
is the
And she's
larger
buying
one.
that,
Let's do it.
she's
50
bidding
by
like
140.
They're all 20.
a little over $1,000 for those 2 lots?
On the first one, it's gonna be, it'll be about 2,300 more or less, a little less. And then the second one will be lots 25 and 30, block 294, 1,750.
Now, I haven't looked at 7.6. The information I've shared with you is only on 7.5. If you'll give me a few minutes, I'll look on the others.
And, well, let's take only one at a time. So on 9th Street, that's where you plan on building your home. And because you have 2 lots, do you plan on building 2 homes?
I'd like to take the one lot and make it just for me and my husband, and then the other 2 with the kiddos. They won't always all come down at the same time.
The other 2 meaning the next item that we're gonna go to, but we're only dealing right now with lots 14 and 15 on 9th Street.
Yes, and that would be the main one for me and my husband.
And you say that you could build a home in there in probably about a year, you'd have a home.
Well, maybe a tiny home, might not get to be a huge brick home, but it'll be a nice structure. Help raise property taxes, hopefully, not bring them down.
Well, I think it's good to get it back on the tax roll regardless of.
So do I.
If she turns around and sells it, it's still
bring
gonna help
money.
the city.
Yep.
No, I am trying to get here.
Where is that
I'm sorry?
I am trying to get here.
at? Okay.
Are you with the council on that?
Well, I'll move on approving a tax resale property suit number S-11-1100TX account in OS 35477 and 0011024500140002 lots 14 and 15, block 245, City of Aransas Pass, San Patricio County, Texas, located on 9th Street. A bid was submitted by Billy A. Pauley, which is 35.71% of the current value.
Do we need
Well,
to
she'd
say
Which
that?
is actually,
She'd offered to pay more, so are
Right.
you accepting her existing offer?
No,
or-
that's what I was just gonna say. It needs
So
to be
strike
corrected
off
to what
the-
she's,
What she's gonna.
what she's gonna
Or we're gonna
offer.
get 0.
Yeah.
It'll be
$300.
$297 is gonna be her bid now, because she's willing to pay the costs of the sale, which will pay those off, and then the $1,050 will go to the taxes, which
We'll get
I would
about
say probably.
$25?
And change, no, probably 30, let's say taxes, maybe 25%, so $250 maybe, more or less, I'm just doing a rough estimate. The school taxes are about 50%, county and city are about 25 each percent, so it's about 250 more or less. We do put the pencil to it more or less. But her bid is $2297 will be her bid. That will be her bid.
Well, I'll,
That's gonna be her bid, yes, ma'am.
Do I need to reread it with that?
Yes, for 14 to 15, correct.
Okay, accepting the bid of $2,297?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So let's go to number 2, set your second bid. So now,
I heard us too.
I seconded.
No.
Oh.
I was aye. What about you, Pam?
It's 3 to
There's
1.
3 already.
So she doesn't need to vote. I
Yeah, he
voted. I
does.
didn't vote
It's
against
already
it.
them 3.
Because you voted yes.
He has to vote on it.
Yeah, you can still vote.
Sure, yes, I'm okay.
okay, all right. So we'll go to 7 lots. This is a S13 1038TX Aransas Pass ISD versus APN Realty Trust, and it's lots 25 and 30, block 294, Town of Aransas Pass. Opening bid is, I'm so sorry, I'm like I'm doing a tax sale. The offer, I'm sorry, is $1,750. And according to what I just checked on the appraisal district website, The 21 value is 1,750. So her bid now is equal to the 21 value of the property.
I have a
The co-
question. I'm
Yes,
so
ma'am.
sorry.
Go
Is
ahead.
this, you say 7th Street, is that north or south?
That's a good question. You have that, Linda? You have that file?
And this one, the one that they approved, was that on the north or the south
North.
also?
North, it says north 9.
Is it? Okay, I don't think it had it.
North. I have north, yes, ma'am. South.
South?
7th Street is south,
Is that correct?
It goes south and.
South, okay, south, yes, ma'am.
So she's up.
7th
So-
Street is south.
Yes, ma'am, that's what we have. So the bid is 1,750, and once we pay the cost, the city will receive 271.69. Is that what the city will receive in taxes, once we pay the cost of the sale?
And that lot size is a 25-foot by 140.
And what do you plan on doing with these 2 lots?
Those will be improvements as well, those are for the kiddos.
And do you plan on getting those within, maybe
Those
2
might be
years?
about a year and a half.
A year and a
The-
half.
The mom and pops will come first, 'cause they can always stay with us for a while. That'll entice us to make it quicker.
Okay.
I have some good gentlemen working for me right now, so if I utilize them while I have them.
And this one was offered December 2nd, 2014, so it's been off the roll for going on 7 years now.
So we're going to hold you to your feet of developing these properties.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Great. Yes,
We
ma'am.
need residents, we need homes, and,
Yes, ma'am.
that's the only reason we'd sell them to you at this price.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Normally, they would be more expensive, very
Correct.
much more than that.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I understand. I did try to give what was asked.
Got it.
Sorry. That way, hopefully, it covers.
Okay.
Favor of the council?
I'll make a motion that we approve the tax resale property, suit number S13-1038, tax account numbers 57464 and 0011029400. 25001, tracks 8, lots 25 and 30, block 294, town of Aransas Pass, San Patricio County, located on South 7th Street, in the amount of $1,750.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Okay, now we'll go to the next one.
Thank you. You're welcome, thank you. Okay, going on to 7-7, lawsuit S19-1207TX, Aransas Pass ISD versus Juan Castro, lot 13, block 733, city of Aransas Pass. We have an amount of the bid is $16,200, and the 21 value went down a little bit from 19,575 to 19,350. The costs are $1,239. So once we pay, if this is approved, the city will receive, after costs are paid, $4,329.51, and this is located on 1112 South Rife here in the city.
This is a 50 by 150 lot.
And what is planned for this lot? Do we know?
Did you? Oh, are they here? Are they here? Great. Monica.
Gorman.
Yes.
So first of all, our first plan is to clean the property. There's a lot of trash on there and other stuff. And after that, we would like to build a home. If I can get my husband to come teach in this area, or hopefully we'll retire soon and build a home. I can't give you a time frame now just because wood is so high right now. And I'm waiting for prices to go down before we start building.
So within the next couple of years,
Within
though?
the next couple of years, yes, ma'am.
Is there a structure on this building, on this lot right now?
No. there's a bunch of trash there.
Could be on South Rife, yeah.
Okay.
But you've seen the property recently, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we drove by there. Thank you. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Is this the first time this property is on the steps, or did we?
Well, this one was offered April the 6th of '21, so, what, 5 months ago?
It was quick, okay.
About 5 months ago, 6 months ago it was offered, so it hasn't been struck off that long. But,
Okay.
It's on the corner of Rife, South Rife, and West Newberry.
It's a good section right there.
Good section, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve tax resale property suit number S-19-1207. Is that a 7? TX. Account numbers 70071 and 00110733001300. Lot 13, Block 733, City of Aransas Pass, San Patricio County, Texas, located at 1112 South Rife, in the amount of $16,200. Second.
that's correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next one.
And the last property off today with an offer is 7-8 S10 1154 TX Aransas Pass ISD versus Robert Rosales, and it's lot 16, block 352, original town site. The amount of the bid is $6,175. The current value is $12,825, and it has not changed for 2021. The costs are $1,459. Once those are paid, the city will receive $1,471.73. And I believe Mr. Lunsky is here?
Yes.
There we go. So,
That is a 25-foot by 190 foot.
190? Okay.
Yeah, it's just basically a dead piece of property.
I'm sorry?
And it's a dead piece of property. And I bought the 2 lots right next to it, which has a house on it, which I'm renovating. And I just want to get, it's an eyesore, needs to be cleaned up. And I'm maintaining it right now, so I just figured I'd buy it just to maintain it.
Okay. And he is a local business person also. You have a food truck here,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So are you planning to build or just have them?
No, I can't build on it. There's not enough. It's
It's
just
not
going to be
enough?
one, I'm going to make it all one lot.
Okay, that's sort of, okay, but you
Yeah.
said you have all
Yeah,
two
there's
next door?
a bunch of debris on it, slabs, that just needs to be cleaned up. But I can't build in our tech with the planning department, so I'm just going to leave that one house on it. I just want to clean it up for making my house more attractive.
I move to approve tax resale property suit number S-10-1154TX, account number 35954 and 0011035200160000, lot 16, block 32, original town site, City of Aransas Pass, San Patricio County, Texas, located at 640 West Goodnight. The bill was submitted by Mark Lunsky in the amount of $6,175.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to consider, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Hey.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Are y'all going to TML?
Vicki and I
Oh,
are.
okay, okay.
We've already RSVP'd to you.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, now we're gonna go to, got lost here.
Make sure you get that.
Okay, consider an act on resolution awarding the request for proposals for management services to H2O Partners for the Texas Hazard Mitigation Assistance Grant funded through the Texas Division of Emergency Management and/or Texas Water Development Board.
Mayor and council, the qualifications committee, for lack of a better name for the committee, met and agreed that H2O should be awarded the management services if council agrees. And this is the grant related to like the elevation of houses and such that you have been presented information on at an earlier time. But we need to get moving with it. It's a fairly tight deadline for preparing the grant and submitting the grant. But H2O is the proposed winner of that particular qualification.
I make a motion to award the request for proposals for management services to H2O Partners for the Texas Hazard Mitigation Assistance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to consider an act on resolution awarding the request for qualifications for professional engineering services to K Freeze Plus Associations for the Texas Hazard Mitigation Assistance Grant funded through the Texas Division of Emergency Management and or Texas Water Board.
And this is the engineering part of what we were just talking about. And that's the recommendation of the committee. Explained earlier what the grant is for. And the suggestion is to go with K Freeze of Council Freeze.
Where is K Freeze out of?
I think
San Antonio. Have we ever worked with them before?
Yes.
And we've had a great relationship with them? Great. Okay.
Just checking.
I make a motion to award the request for qualifications for professional engineering services to K Freeze and Associates for the Texas Hazard Mitigation Assistance Projects.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to consider an act of resolution nominating to the San Patricio County Appraisal District Board of Directors.
this comes to you periodically, and I think Mary, City
Yes.
Secretary, I believe 6 positions, is that correct?
Yeah, there's terms that are expiring for the board of directors. The names are on your agenda memo. Terms are expiring for John Curley, Bill Wilson, Dr. Ann Matula, Joe McCon, Dalia Sanchez, and Marcella Thorma-Ellen. The city can nominate up to 5 individuals. I was notified that Dalia Sanchez is not seeking reappointment, so you may nominate up to 5 individuals.
That's the only ones that are left for the 5.
It doesn't have to be anyone from here. If there's another name that you have, you can nominate someone else, as long as they reside in San Patricio County.
I don't have anybody else, do y'all?
I certainly don't.
So I make a motion to nominate John Curley, Bill T. Wilson, Dr. Ann Matula, Joan McCon, and Marcy Thormalin for the San Patricio County Appraisal District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, aye, aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
We're gonna go to consider an act to approve a resolution appointing representatives to the participating government board for the development of a comprehensive industrial plan for San Patricio County, Texas.
This has been up for discussion earlier, it's been a while. And one of the questions you had, you wanted to make sure that the city of Aransas Pass had a say, whoever's hired for the consultant for this particular comprehensive industrial master plan. We would have a representative and an alternate on that. Oftentimes, it's the city manager that is appointed as but not exclusively, to that particular position. Hence, the suggestion is for the city manager, and the alternate would be any of you, actually, who is interested, which would be all of you, in the industrialization of this particular area. The suggestion is Carrie Scruggs as the alternate. If you want to reverse that, or whatever you want to do, that would be fine also. So that's a suggestion, anyway.
I think it's a great suggestion, unless anybody else wants it. No.
Well, I make a motion to take this suggestion of city manager and Carrie Scruggs to serve on the board as representatives of Aransas Pass.
Carrie's an alternate.
An alternate, yeah.
And city manager is a
Gary?
regular member, yeah.
I guess I need to speak up, right?
Speak up.
Sorry. Second?
Second.
I made a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I guess I need to abstain from voting for myself.
Okay. Now we're gonna go to consider an act on 2021 annual fall feast event.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'd like to take a few minutes to discuss this, because there's some significant issues associated with what normally would just be a run-of-the-mill issue for the council to act on. Consequently, I anticipate this may take a few minutes. The Fall Feast has been a huge hit for the past several years here. Very, very successful. It provides a great community service, as we all know. Last year is somewhat different because of COVID. Had to have carry out to the cars as the cars pass by the front door or thereabouts of the Civic Center, and that worked out well. And again, that was because of COVID. This year, at the last minute, we learned that Sarah Lee was resigning, and Sarah was the person who spearheaded this whole effort, brought it all together. The mayor has been extremely active as far as the cooking goes with this, and a key person in all of this also. Sarah was overseeing the volunteers, the food handling classes, not a small part. The people who participate have to have food handling clearances, passes, certificates. The dining logistics, she also oversaw. The cleanup effort and the cooking of 30 turkeys is the number I have. Graham, the mayor, was a key element in the cooking part of it. Sarah, no small issue, was a certified food service manager. No small issue. She was the only one on staff to have that certification. That's something that's important to this whole process. Many other duties were handled by Sarah, too numerous to list here. She also made sure that the turkeys were thawed correctly, working with RAM, and kept them at the right temperatures for storage, because cooking started a few days ahead of the actual event. And if all that weren't done correctly, and again, Sarah was overseeing much of that, then of course that could be a major problem for the city. Right now, the interim community enrichment director is Christina. I believe it's unfair to throw all of this into her lap, and especially with all the specialization that's needed with the food preparation and all of the volunteer work and the getting the clearances for staff to go through the training courses with the county. It's an issue that could be somewhat dangerous, as I said, for the city. It's unfair to throw her into all of that with this very, very short time limit that we have. Consequently, staff, and this is a suggestion, is suggesting that we have the meal catered. If Butter Churn, for example, caters it, the cost would be $12.50 per plate, but they will reduce that to $9. The cost for 750 people, that's how many we would be planning on, as we have and for the past couple of years at least, would be $6,750. We have budgeted $3,500. We anticipate it's going to be fairly, famous last words, fairly easy to raise the balance of $3,250. We believe we can raise those donations if it's catered. Staff is also suggesting that we again this year have a drive-through pickup as we did last year. COVID is still with us. Don't want to cause any situation that where this event could be tainted by some COVID issues coming out of a large group being in the room at the same time. We, as I said, We also need to have volunteers that will be part of that large group also. Staff also, third point, staff is suggesting that November 18th, that's 1 week, which we traditionally do, 1 week before Thanksgiving. This is all up for discussion. That's the reason I think it'll take a few minutes to discuss this. But so that all the burden doesn't fall on just a couple of people. Don't want all that burden to fall on RAM also, with all of this last minute planning that has to go on. So we're suggesting, again, that the meal be catered, point 1. You would need to agree to that tonight, or not agree with it. Staff also is suggesting, as I said, that we have the drive-through again tonight, asking for your decision on that. And finally, the decision of November 18th for the date for this event, 1 week before Thanksgiving. That would be November 18th. Those are the 3 issues. Didn't want to just come to you and just throw those on the table and say, have at it. Wanted to bring some suggestions to you to see if you're in agreement with those suggestions. But just want to emphasize, we have very little time. The issues are not small that we're having to deal with here. It's going to be a logistical challenge, but it can be done. And staff is also recommending that we do move forward with it, but suggesting that these potential solutions be considered at least by the council. So I'll throw it back to you to see if you agree with the suggestions, or do you have other suggestions you would like to bring forward in order to allow the fall feast to continue this year with this last-minute development of Sarah Lee leaving.
Do we have all of Sarah Lee's notes?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And there have been meetings, a number of meetings on what to do.
I have a question also. Have you, the city, considered open it to any other restaurant that might want to bid?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just kind of wondering, because you're saying
I just
the
want to
butter
give you an
churn.
idea of what the cost is.
There might be some others that out there that are wanting to possibly help with this event, not just focusing on just one.
Absolutely, yes.
There you go.
I also just kind of wondering, because I know the time was advertised for a certain time last year, I think, right? You started at 5 o'clock or something like that. And just me, I was in line and by the time I got 5 o'clock, I was about 5:15, and they told me they were already out of plates.
At 5:15?
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know.
And so I'm just saying, if you open it at 5, you know, by the time I drove up, they said they were already out of plates.
One thing they did last year, and the recommendation is to continue this this year, but not necessarily so, and it's this. There was no limitation on the number, even if there were 3 people in the car. If they wanted 8, we were going ahead and giving them those 8, even if there were 3 in the car. Maybe they want to reconsider that this year. Maybe want to look at residency only. That wasn't considered last year.
I'm just throwing out, and there was probably like about 50. I mean, there was a lot of cars behind me. So if they were already out with me at 5:15, I don't know how many.
Each year, I think they have to turn some.
Well, I know when they come inside, I know we're not able to, but inside you have food left over. I mean, Rudy and I took to the, was it Samaritan's Mission in Corpus, or whatever was left over, we took over there to them for them to provide their residents. So I don't know, just let you know what I went through, so.
Good point.
The rest of the people that were behind me.
That's a good point, and I anticipate something similar would happen this year. We would have to turn people away because of the popularity of this event. I agree.
Limit the plates as far as.
I know that could come out of town to eat that.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about your thoughts, Ram. I know you also have a manager certificate, correct? I know I have a food manager
Yes, I do.
certificate.
I have a certificate.
Yeah, we both have manager certificates.
And I know from, I don't know, for the ones that attended in the Civic Center, it wasn't super packed, the Civic Center, when we had the meal inside. You know, you can have and just distance the tables, just a suggestion, you know, and having them come in and eat there. You know, just
Yeah.
put up so many tables and, you know, just my suggestion on that part right there.
I know that we serve on Thursday, but the cooking starts on Tuesday, or the prep
Monday or
starts on
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
yeah.
Several
We would
days
have
ahead.
to.
And all the turkeys get cooked on Wednesday,
Mhm.
debone and sliced up and get ready.
Mhm.
But on Tuesday is the peeling of the potatoes and all that, and then the actual day, Thursday, or even the Wednesday is when they do all the cornbread for the dressing and stuff. The actual day, on the Thursday, they cook the mashed potatoes and the green beans and bake the rolls.
And I also know that the dishwasher and stuff don't work in the Civic Center anymore. Sarah told me that she didn't get it fixed. So if it's going to be cooked at the Civic Center, we're gonna have to get the dishwasher and the equipment checked, because Sarah said the dishwasher and stuff doesn't work.
No, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
she said she
Okay.
just didn't spend the money to get it fixed.
Did not know
I
that.
think there
It's
was
good to know.
issues with the steam tables too.
Yeah, I
The
think
steam
so.
The steam table had issues too.
Yeah, I think so.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, that's expensive equipment. I think we need to keep it,
Yeah.
keep it working.
I agree with you.
Not just let it go.
Don't get me started with that.
I agree with
Well, we
you.
won't get you started.
Wow, and we have to make a decision tonight on this, huh?
We really need to because of the time. I mean, we're
I think-
already short on time.
I think we ought to move forward with it, and even if we get the butter churn to cater, that'd be fine too.
And let's look at other,
Well,
I
we
mean,
can bid
Billy
out.
Ellis,
We can bid it out. I just
Yeah, maybe we
brought
get it
that
cheaper.
forward as to give you an idea what the cost is gonna be.
and Billy Ellis is opening up his own catering company. He may be willing to, you know, do something for the city because his passion. But I do believe it needs to be for Aransas Pass citizens and, not for Rockport and Ingleside and every place else. I mean, I know that may be a little bit selfish, but we're trying to take care of our own community.
I agree with you. Have it
And-
for locals and local people cooking food.
And
I
I
think
would
that
say-
would save us, if we do that, I think that would allow it to go further as far as.
Sure it would.
And I would say limit the plates in the car.
Well, even if you have it inside, like you said.
But you can't have it if you don't have the equipment working.
That's true. Well, if there's a caterer coming in, they have the heat boxes
That's
and
what we're
stuff.
talking about.
So,
Okay.
Now, with a caterer, of course, we don't have to worry about any of that.
correct, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
all-
They come in with heat
We
boxes.
need volunteers to pick up the wrapped up plate
Right.
and take it out to,
Yeah, yeah.
the car,
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do. Let me start with this. Do you want to do the event? I know you
Yes.
do.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
of course.
definitely.
That's settled.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to, it's gonna be difficult. I don't wanna put this burden on any one particular person who hasn't done the overall thing. Do we want to cater, or do we want to do it, get someone to oversee it and do it as we've done before?
I would say get someone to cater if possible inside the Civic Center, not a drive-through.
I agree with that.
I
I
agree.
do too.
Oh, okay, well, then, okay.
Just another.
Cater it,
So-
but have people come in and sit
Yeah.
down.
So
Correct.
it would
Yeah.
have to be, if everybody seems to be in agreement on that, if that is the case, then we would have to social distance. Excuse me for
Sure.
using
Yes,
that politically correct term, but we would have to do an element of that. That would probably mean which is fine, but that would mean longer lines too, I'm sure, I'm certain, that would last longer. So that's something to keep in mind, but that's fine, we'd be happy to do that.
Well, I think if you have a couple of people, like when they do the ladies' fashion show, they have a table registration, people can come up, they register, they get the tickets, and they can go in. So if we set up something like that, where there could be several of us, you know, they need to show their ID that they're Aransas Pass citizens and stuff, then we give them a ticket for a meal, and then they go through and they pick up their meal and they go sit down and eat it.
Or
That
they
would
could
be-
leave,
leave
or
with
they
it.
Or
could
they could
leave with
leave,
it.
or they could leave with
Or
it.
they could leave with it.
So,
That's fine, that's fine. Okay.
Any
So-
thoughts, Sandra, on that?
So I'm hearing that, first of all, you want to do it, point one. Let me jump to the 18th. Are you okay with the 18th?
yes.
Okay, you're okay with that. I'm hearing you're okay with catering, and we'll look around. We're not set on anybody at this point. We'll approach several and see what is the best deal. And I'm hearing you prefer this year to be inside with social distancing, and we need to set up a system to, which we haven't done in the past, but I can see where you're coming from. Residents only. Am
I
I
believe so.
right? Mary, are you making notes of all?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I don't think we.
She's painting her nails.
I think in the past, when you served it inside, you didn't require residents only.
That is correct.
People came in. I'm thinking drive-through is easier. People just come through, hey, I'm coming, just got off work.
Yeah.
I live in Rockport, let me go by and get a plate there.
14 meals.
Yeah.
And sell it to my neighborhood.
Exactly.
I don't-
There
But,
you go.
we didn't have the requirement that you had to live in Aransas Pass.
That's right.
Because not too many people will come in,
Well,
Because we had food left over, I'm telling you, because we were able to take platters
That was
to.
the very first time we did it.
Yeah. Even the second
The
or third
second
time,
one,
we
but
always,
The third, the fourth.
yeah, we
started
took,
running out.
yeah.
Yeah, the last few, I think we were running out.
Well, let me ask you, right now, we are estimating, and I wasn't here last year, but the year before last, I was here, and it was about the same number. It was over 700.
Right.
So we're estimating 750. So residents only, are you anticipating the same thing? Something-
I would.
Mhm.
If you put that
Yeah.
notice out in the paper that we're gonna have the fall feast and it's gonna be residents only, and that you're gonna come in and you're gonna register your name and address, and then you'll get your meal tickets. You can either take it with you or sit down and enjoy and have some kind of music or something. Maybe the high school band could be playing, I don't know, something
Donald Boss will
that
do
isn't
his
gonna.
little- Donald Boss will do his little entertainment up there.
Yeah, we're not doing that one again.
No, if we just play some kind of music overhead,
Exactly.
I don't think we need to do all the entertainment because we want people to come in and out.
Right.
So we don't want people to
Right.
just sit there
Right.
and take up a seat for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah, you're right. You're correct.
And we can certainly ask the women's club to do the desserts again.
Yes.
And get that done.
Did they do it last year? I don't know.
Yes.
Well, last year was
Yes.
different.
Yes.
Last year was different
Yes,
since
they
they
did.
carried it out.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
they did.
Okay. And we can work out those small details as far as like the dessert. I say small. But we can work those details out once these big issues that are before us right now are addressed. And I think they're now addressed, frankly. I think you've made some good decisions here. So we're going to have it catered. We're going to check with other companies in this area, immediate area. There's no need for traffic patterns now, patterns, because it's not going to be a carry-out, a delivery. We're going to have residents only, which is new. It'll be on the 18th. What else am I forgetting?
The time?
And it's going to be inside. It's going to be inside, and we'll social distance, okay?
And it will start at what time?
Oh, when have you started in the past? I can't recall.
We need to make a
5,
motion on it,
5:30?
right?
What time did we start? I don't know.
I don't
5?
remember.
5 o'clock? I don't know.
I think it was 5.
So why don't we start at 5:17 and a half? I'm kidding.
Make the motion.
All right, I make a motion that we authorize staff to proceed with the fall feast with bids for catering and social distancing inside the Civic Center.
And they would have to be
November
residents.
18th.
And the date, November 18th.
And the dining in people must be residents of Aransas Pass.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now.
Thank you very much.
Just was wondering.
I guess you already made this next one.
Can you maybe just start out with the Aransas Pass businesses first and not going
No, I plan to
Yeah.
do that.
Outside of
Plan to do
the
that,
city?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and you already made the announcement of Christina Beard as the interim director of
Yeah,
community
a couple times, I think.
You heard.
Okay.
Okay, now we're gonna go to Development Services. It's considered an act on the issuance of request for proposals for the following BGDR grant infrastructure projects.
Mayor and Council, this is asking permission to go ahead and advertise for the next set of projects. These are all part of the CDBG-DR projects that are tied into Stappen McCampbell, Weirton and Wheeler. We received the plans today for the DeBerry, Saunders, and Greenwood. That's the next one that's going out for bids. We're reviewing them in-house right now, and by next week we should have them ready to go. And our plan is to, as soon as that one goes out to bid and we start getting the packets, we start bidding the next one and the next one. So instead of coming back week after week, we just decided we can go ahead and get permission to advertise. Once we get bids in, we'll bring them back to council for recommendation on what company to go with.
I think it's a great idea.
I agree.
Let's get it moving.
I agree. Let's move
Move it on.
Let's move it on.
Yes, I make a motion to act on the issuance of a request for proposals for the following CDBG-DR grant infrastructure projects: DeBerry Avenue, Saunders Lane, and Greenwood Avenue, West Johnson Avenue, and West Highland Avenue, Nelson Avenue, 13th Street, and West Wilson Avenue.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to consider an act on awarding request for qualifications for engineering services for the park improvement projects to T. Baker Smith.
So Mayor and Council, this is a request for qualifications for the basketball pavilion in the Little League building. We sent out the qualifications. We received 3 company bids. The review committee met last week and we reviewed the stuff, and our recommendation is to go with T. Baker Smith. They are a local Aransas Pass firm. So, and I believe they're here in the audience if you have any questions for them.
Great.
Okay, this is just for the designing of the.
The design of the
okay.
pavilion and the building for the Little League.
Okay,
Get the scissor stamp.
right.
That's excellent that they're local.
And whenever they do the bids, we're not gonna miss anything on it, right? No change orders. I talked to Alan yesterday.
Well, they're local, so they'll give back to the community if they miss something. Right? There you go.
And the reason
Get
why
that
I
on
was,
the record.
I was just, this is just a building because I know you're looking at doing the fields, right?
We're gonna look at that, see if that can be incorporated with this based on the funding we have. If not, that's something we'll do on our own. Once we get this awarded, we'll sit down with them and go over the scope and see if that's gonna be tied into it or not.
Okay, and that'd include the Little League and also the softball?
The softball field,
Okay, because
yes.
I know that's a major
Yeah.
area right there. Okay, so you're gonna look at, keep us posted on that, right?
Yes, I will.
Okay, because that's the field, if you have a beautiful building and the fields are not worth playing on, what's the use of?
Correct.
Spending that money on that, okay?
Great.
I'll make a motion to award the request for qualifications for engineering services for the park improvements projects to T. Baker Smith.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna go to public safety, which is considered an act on authorizing the police chief to reactivate the department's K9
K9
program, which is to be entirely funded through the assessed
Asset.
forfeiture accounts of the department for the life of the program.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you will probably recall, when I come into the department in 2012, we did have a canine program. It was not well managed within the department. We tried to rehab that program with the dog and a new operator, and the dog would not sniff out drugs, just Whataburgers. So I completely lost confidence in the program, and we had greater priorities at that time within the department. So we abandoned the canine program. We retired that dog, if you recall. I think Adon was mayor at the time, and we did a ceremony for him. We are in a position now to where we see the benefit of trying to get the program going again. And I have the right person, and that's often the most challenging part of having a canine program, is having the right officer assigned for that program. He's actually here in the audience. I don't want to really highlight him by bringing him forward if I don't have to because of his assignment. But if there are any particular questions that I can't answer for you, he will. So what are we looking at this dog doing? This dog will primarily be assigned to the officer and used for narcotics interdiction and trafficking. Second to that, it will also be called a patrol dog and receive patrol training. And what that means is the officer it's assigned to often is, in his team that he works on, is a traffic stop officer, and he plays both roles, the fed role, the state role. And depending on the investigation, he might not have partners very nearby. This dog would be his immediate partner, so if he's attacked or something of that nature, the dog would know to respond and defend the officer, protect the officer. It would also be good at sniffing out a fleeing subject, maybe sniffing out somebody that has gone missing, maybe a child's wandered off or something like that. I've had experience with those patrol dogs being capable of doing that as well. So it's a dual-purpose dog that we're looking at. The upfront cost we're looking at is $29,039. We roughly did include that with this year's budget. So basically it's already been budgeted out of the state drug forfeiture program. And each year thereafter for the next 3 years, we have it slated out, as you can see, what the expenses we're looking at right now. And this is based off of probably about 3 or 4 months old data. The fluctuation shouldn't be like lumber, hopefully, but this is roughly what we're looking at. In any respect, it will be completely funded out of the asset forfeiture programs, not a burden on the city. Now, another thing you need to know is the schools often like to have these dogs available to them. This dog will be available to our schools. One of the teachers this morning was telling me how she wants to invite the county's dog over for a demonstrate and a meet and greet type situation. I'd rather her invite our dog over for that, especially in our school system. Nothing to undermine their dog. They got a great dog with the county, but it's a resource that I'd like to see us have back within the community here and available to our officers as needed.
Sure. This dog, it's already trained. Have you spent time with this dog, or are you going to be going through the training with this dog? I know that because my nephew is a canine officer in Tennessee and what they go through. So it's exciting.
Yes, I've had the opportunity to go to Katie, where the dog has been trained already. It's already at a level where all he needs is a canine handler.
Right.
They were actually looking to sell the dog already, but I went with a CCPD canine handler who has had a prior canine trained through this particular couple, or agency, I should say. And so they were willing to hold the dog for us to maybe see if they would be approved. It was probably one of his 2 top dogs, so they were able to hang on to the canine for us. The dog. What was your question?
No,
So
you did fine. Now this dog will live with you, though, correct?
Yes, and he'll
Okay.
spend time with me, primarily indoors, but also I would like to have a kennel outside,
Sure.
inside, and also a kennel at
Yep.
our workplace at the DEA.
Do we have a canine unit?
His unit will be outfitted.
Okay.
That's part of the upfront cost you see with the vehicle equipment. So he's gotten a unit assigned to him,
Okay.
and then we will put the equipment in it, and if he has to do a unit refresh, I'm hoping that he unit refreshes into a similar vehicle or to where it's universal and it can be moved over.
I've met with the person who outfits our vehicles there at CNS in Corpus. He has looked at my vehicle and also looked online and found a particular package that could fit that unit. So yes, the 30, the 29,000 something, 15,000 goes towards the purchase of the canine itself, the training, and also the mileage for 25 to 35 times dedicated.
And what's the time frame on getting this?
As soon as you guys approve it, we would like to make sure that we have all our checks and balances in place and move forward.
How old is the dog?
2 years and 4 months old. It's a Belgian Malinois from Czech Republic.
That's what my granddaughter
I like
has.
it because you get some kind of traffic stop where something's questionable, you call him and turn the dog loose.
Absolutely, and that's the other thing to know, when we have a realistic response for a canine, if we have reasonable suspicion to believe that there are drugs in the vehicle or whatever, but we can't cross that threshold of probable cause, we have enough time having our own dog to where we can delay that stop longer to allow him time to respond to the location and sniff it out.
I'm excited.
Is this a dog that's owned by the city?
This dog will be owned by the city of Aransas Pass, yes.
Okay.
And you have to get insurance.
Right, I just wanted to check with Gary on that follow-up. So it's owned by the city of Aransas Pass, and it's a full-time city of Aransas Pass dog.
Yes, and in the eyes of the law, it's a police officer once we commission it. So that and your question with insurance, I think Mary probably has a better loop in on those questions.
I guess we're both thinking if it's approved, we just gotta make sure the dog's protected
And the
And the
city.
city.
city's protected
The city,
from the
yeah.
dog, and the dog's protected with the city, and
And the handler is protected. So.
and the handler looks like he could protect anybody, actually.
Everyone's protected all the way around. Okay, very
That's
good.
exciting. So I would like to make the motion that we authorize the police chief to reactivate the department's K-9 program, which is to be entirely funded through the assets forfeiture accounts of the department for the life of this program.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, we're gonna go to city council, staff
Thank you.
council.
Just a quick question, when do we expect the dog to be delivered to the city, so that we can work on the back end on the insurance?
If we can move forward with this as soon as we're allowed to, I still will be required to have a 5-week training there in Katy with the dog, so that the dog realizes it's full-time now.
And will the city take ownership after the 5-week training, or
Yes.
when you start the 5-week training?
In a sense, it's when I start. I've seen in these programs that some of these handlers will go for this training, and the dog may not particularly side with the handler, and then they'll utilize another dog.
Okay.
But in this case, that's
So
very
let's just
rare.
make sure, Chief, before he heads off to training, that we've got our ducks in a row with the insurance coverage.
Absolutely. We do have a few hoops to jump through before we actually pull the trigger on signing any deals or whatever. This is the first part of that. The second part, there's some paperwork that's still required he has to get for me, which I'll be discussing with him, and that will be one of the requirements.
So the dog will be able to eat at Thanksgiving dinner with us.
Should have been Aransas Pass.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna have a mayor's meeting, it's a mayor's monthly meeting, October 14th, 2021, and it'll be hosted by Aransas Pass, and it'll be here at the Civic Center at 6 o'clock.
Who's going to be serving the food on that? Or do- Okay, butter churn, okay. Mr. Mayor, also want to point out, it's not on the list, the national night out is tomorrow between 5:30 and 7:30. Want to make everybody aware of that also. And then the workshop meeting, we're going to have to change the date on that because we want to have the panhandler ordinance, and Roxanne won't be able to be here on that date, so we're going to have to come up with a different date. So those are the items we'll have once we get a date for that. So that's it.
What time does the mayor's?
At 6 o'clock.
Okay. Did you say it? I didn't
Yeah,
hear it.
October 14th at 6 o'clock,
Okay, I'm
from
sorry.
6 to 8.
I'm sorry. I didn't-
Mary, I RSVP to you for that. I can't be there on the 14th.
Now we're gonna go to citizen comments. Citizen comments are intended for the matter that are not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Be advised that the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the city council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make a statement of factual information, recite existing policy, advise that this subject may be placed on the agenda for a subsequent meeting.
Anybody?
Mary?
Okay.
No closed session, just sing.
Dad.
I I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.